Orchidon. Welcome, everyone, to a Friday night at the Meadowlands. Indeed, Brian Sears is driving us. Now, I was looking through the entries for Tuesday at Yonkers. I saw a B. Sears listed. I saw a guy in white and brown colors, set a bike suspiciously like you. Are you racing over there?
Yeah, I'm going to start racing over there on Mondays and Tuesdays. 3 days a week now is not quite enough, so I'm just going to try and stay a little busier.
What are your plans for April when we're closed? We'll open again on Derby Day, but during the month of April, you get about 5 weeks there. Where are you going to drive?
Well, I look to drive at Yonkers through those days, and maybe Chester on Sundays.
Okay, well, that'll keep you busy, and you're certainly coming off a huge week. 3 series finals last week, back on top in the standings. Is it a case of you just being refocused or refreshed, or are you just getting better stock to drive?
I think it's a lot about opportunity. The more opportunity you have, the more success you're going to have, and been racing a lot for the Burks, and they had some horses that fit these series real well, and winning some races with them.
Well, they had 3 of them that fit very well because you won with all 3 of them. Let's start with the Tender Loving Care last Friday. Some girls do. We'll pick it up just past the quarter, and this horse is a real paradox to me because I hate the way she goes, hate the way she hangs in the left line, but she's got a lot of talent.
Yeah, she does have some quite a bit of ability, and they did make some rigging changes, and she's quite a bit better from the first 2 weeks where I raced her, where she was running out in the middle of the track. Here, at least I could get her down to the pylons, and she wasn't drifting real bad in the lane.
Now, does she put in some steps? Does she feel kind of fumbly when you're sitting behind her, or how is she?
Well, on occasion, she does put in a couple steps when she gets a little crooked there running out, but for the most part, she's pretty good.
Well, she came back nicely to you at the half. You had to be pretty confident here. And what really impressed me, when Dave Miller came with the horse to beat Sagebrush Susie, you put the whip on her tail, and within like 10 strides, I mean, she really hits top gear.
Yeah, she responded well with very little asking. She was right there when I called on her. And, we got some moderate fraction, so she was pretty fresh.
So you're coming to the 3/4 marker here. You're a couple lengths in front, and Sagebrush Susie didn't look like she was traveling all that well. When you kicked out the earplugs, you had to be pretty confident.
Well, I want to kind of get her cranked up in the turn, so then I know she's not going to run out quite as bad as she usually does. And so it got her started up a little bit. But, she's pretty straight for her down the lane, so she was good.
And the key is with a horse that drifts out, make sure nobody's right to your outside, so you have a little bit of room to let them drift, too.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes you have to give them a little left line to keep them going forward.
Now, what's up with this filly? Does she have major problems? Is it just greenness, or what's up with her bearing out so bad?
She doesn't seem like she has any lameness problems, but, just the rigging and maybe something in her mouth.
Okay, well, that was one of Brian Sears' 3 series victories. Let's go to the Exit 16W with Mears Hanover, the rematch with Summer Camp. We roll it out from here. You had the big post edge on Summer Camp, who started toward the outside. What was your strategy at the start?
Well, I knew that Yannick would be leaving pretty hard from the rail, and I didn't know if Andy was going to take the 2-hole, and maybe I'd move my horse down the backside, but Andy pushed on and made the front. And I was thinking, the wind was so bad that night, I was thinking maybe I was just going to come a grinding first over and just kind of kick him in gear from there, but I had to come earlier than I wanted to, so I had to just use him hard and get him to the front. But the horse has raced real well throughout the whole series, both series he's been in. So and again, he put in a real good effort.
Now, it looked like you really wanted to get Summer Camp in the 2-hole there. That was a big enough hole to drive a truck and trailer into, but Andy wasn't have any of that getting in between the stablemates.
No, he was able to go on to the front with a 27-second quarter, but it worked out for me. These 2 horses have been trading punches throughout the series.
Now, the good thing is, into the winds on the backstretch, you got to wait about halfway down the backstretch, so it wasn't totally into the wind. And Andy had already used his horse into the wind. Is that why you'd think he didn't try to sting you here a little?
Yeah, he figured he was going to get a chance to race his horse. If me and him went toe-to-toe from there on, I think, it might have took us both out of the race.
Now, when Dave Miller comes up with Freddie Day Hanover, you've got him parked out. Did you kind of back into Summer Camp a little bit and kind of use Freddie Day as a pick to keep him locked in?
Not as much as you might think. Mears, he likes to roll along at a pretty even pace. He's not one you want to stop and start. So right there, I kick the plugs and let him keep pacing.
Now, Summer Camp is just a monster when he gets rolling, but I think your horse has quicker speed and quicker acceleration for that first few steps. And right here, you just kind of sprint away before Andy has clearance and get that separation in the stretch.
Yeah, my horse gives him his all every week, and I know he's going to give it to me, and and we're just going to empty the tank and see if we had enough.
And this horse seems like he is so drivable. Just push button, do whatever you want with him.
Yeah, it's funny. I raced him here last year a little bit, and he was far from being straightened out, but they had a few kinks in him. But now he's much better.
Well, that was 2 of Brian Sears' 3. Now we move on to the Junior Trendsetter Final, also on Saturday. This is I'm Feeling Good, who you'd been driving, but the Burks bought him just before the final, and you end up in the 2-hole here as we roll it out on the backstretch. Now this horse, the Burks just got him. Did they tell you anything about him, changes, or what they might have done to him?
They didn't do a lot to him. They said that they worked on his stomach a little bit during the week. But, the horse has been just semi-competitive in there, and I got away following 2 of the horses I thought we had to beat, so I thought we were in a good spot.
And again, Dapper Denzel and Dave Miller, who I thought was the horse to beat in the final, had to move into those wins on the backstretch. Might have taken a little starch out of him. Now you're sitting in right now, and it looks like things get a little dicey here. It looks like he's up in the rigging a touch.
Yeah, we're going a quarter, a 29-1 or something like that, second quarter, and we get jammed up pretty good, a half and 58. And all of a sudden, I'm in a little bit of trouble, and Brandon ends up getting in my bike for a few steps, puts my tire out. So, I still think I'm following the 2 best horses, so I think I'm going to get a chance to race my horse eventually. But right now, I'm wishing I had a little space. You
kind of look like a bull rider holding on for dear life there. Were you worried about shutting his air off at all?
Well, at that point, I just hanging on to him as much as I could. My left tire was out, and just looking for a little crease to let him pace a little bit, and was fortunate enough to find one, and he was able to plow his way to the finish line.
Now, when you started to come through there, was there enough room, or did it open up at the last second?
It looked like Yannick's horse was starting to bear out a little bit, and so it was going to keep opening up.
So that was a nice win for the Burks with I'm Feeling Good, the Junior Trendsetter. He's eligible to the Kentucky Sire Stakes Final. Do you have that date reserved so you can drive him down there at Lexington?
Yeah, I look forward to it. I had a good run down there with the finals last year in Lexington, and I'd like to do it again. All
right, Brian. Well, let's take a look at your drives tonight. You've got the rail for Lou Pena, I think 4 or 5 times on the card. Only 10 races. We start in the first with the 1 Lightning Dragon. This is a nice little mare with good gate speed.
Yeah, she is. She raced real well last week. Got stung pretty hard, and I was real pleased with the way she hung in there.
Now, you opted off Spirit to Spare last week to drive a Pena trainee, and Spirit to Spare won for fun. Was that one of those long-term business decisions?
Well, I was driving 4 or 5 for Louis that night, and it seemed like the right thing to do. If you're driving a lot of horses for a guy, you kind of lean that way. I knew this Spirit to Spare would be tough to beat. She had 2 good qualifiers, and she definitely raced well.
Moving on to the second race, you've got the Razor Sharp Max Bad Boy is moving up in class, and you kind of get the drive because Andy has to drive the horse Julie trains, Ellen Zile. Now, Mike Simons trains this horse. I know you've raced against him at Pocono a lot. Pretty good horseman.
Yeah, and he's got some horses that fit some classes real well right now, and this horse seems to be racing real sharp, so hopefully he'll be able to take the step up in class.
Moving on to the third race, number 2, Give It To 'Em State. Pena again for California Connections. Left the gate pretty good last week, but didn't finish all that well.
Yeah, we got scorched a little bit there the first quarter, and there's some real nice mares in there, so we'll be just happy to get a nice piece of it.
Now, front end seems to be your game, but will you try to change things up against this field?
It's tough with the wind. I don't see this mare being on the front. She does have some really speed, but I don't know if everybody's going to be looking to be on the front tonight or not. Depends how the weather is down the backside.
Moving on to the fourth race, number 6, Margarita Mary, the trotter for Steve Elliott. I guess that slow opening half mile kind of hurt you last week.
Yeah, last week was the first time I raced her, and she didn't feel like the handiest of all mares to race. So, we'll just have to play it by ear. But she does keep going forward, but she's just not real quick.
Unfortunately, you caught Affirmed Action once again. He won for fun a week ago, too. Yeah. That could be kind of a tough spot there. Fifth race, a horse I kind of like. Number 7, An Original. These Midwest shippers from the Preferreds and Opens at the Meadows and Northfield usually do pretty good at the lower levels. Do you know anything about her at all?
No, I don't, but she looks like she had a good year last year, mile 51.4 at the Meadows. That's a pretty good mile. She does have 3 qualifiers, so it's better than 2. We'd like to see her start in her, but it's not the toughest bunch, so we'll see what happens.
Moving on to the 6th race, the rail again, Clean Living. You and Pena with Ridge Jumper, and this horse has won 2 in a row.
Yeah, she just raced her heart out. She likes to run out a little bit. I was first up with her last couple of weeks, and she didn't seem to mind it at all. But she's a sweetheart and tries every week.
7th race, number 2, Hurricane Anthony. Andy Miller opted off. Smaller track form isn't that great, but isn't terrible either. And this is a field that's just wide open.
Yeah, it is wide open. Like I said, I'd rather see this horse with a trip over the big track, before at least one start. But we'll see how he gets around.
Dave Brower's a big believer in that too. You think horses need to start at the Meadowlands just to adapt?
Well, they seem to get stretched out a little more over here, no question, and so it does take its toll.
8th race, number 5, Definitely Mamie. Certainly light on her feet. I'll never forget the night that you were coming down the stretch with her and she about stood on her head. You gathered her back up and she still won.
Yeah, she tries hard, and she's a little aggressive early. She gets a little strong in the face, but she's a good mare. She's obviously got a little talent.
Now, is she better on the mile track? Was that break at Yonkers just because of the smaller track?
It could have been, just behind the gate. I could see her getting a little fired up and a little anxious, and that might have been what happened.
9th race, number 1, Village Bolero. Your choice over Fax Me, who had won 2 in a row. What went into that decision?
I think, I look at this mare, and she went a really good start, when I raced her, and I Spirit to Spare beat her, so I got no knocks against that. And the Fax Me, she's raced good two game efforts, but, I think they're pretty even.
10th race, number 5, Bold Guy, another wide open race. Tetrick picked off. He's one of 5 in here that are back quick that raced on Monday. You can kind of get away with that once at the Meadowlands, but you don't want to make a habit of it, do you?
No, you don't. It's I think one start for a horse over the Meadowlands is usually equal to like maybe 2 at a regular track. They get used pretty hard, so we'll see what happens.
All right, Brian, we do have some email questions before we let you go. This is from Angela, and she is from Burlington, Ontario. Where will you be racing when the Meadowlands closes? And spring is nice in Canada, hint, hint.
Yeah, it is nice, but it doesn't come till about June. So
yeah, there's still snow up there till then.
Yeah,
I think.
I'll be over at Yonkers.
Now, when are you going to win with Muscles Marinera? This is from Medusa of South Jersey. Muscles Marinera is older than you and me.
Yeah, he's an old campaigner, and he had an injury last year, and he's been off for about a year now, and he's had 2 starts back, and I still feel like he might need another couple for them. Those older horses takes a while for them to get their speed back.
Certainly, and this is from James, our final question. You had a Rock and Roll Hanover 2-year-old that only raced once last year, then you shut him down. What's up with that colt, he wants to know?
He had an injury to a tendon last year, and he's on his way back, and he's training good, knock on wood. So far, so good.
And what's that horse's name?
It's Rock and Roll.
It's Rock and Roll.
Yeah.
We'll watch for him, and we'll watch for you in the windy conditions tonight. Will you drive any differently with those strong backstretch headwinds?
If it's really bad out there, you kind of got to throw the playbook out the window and just play by ear.
All right. Well, Brian, thanks so much for taking some time to join us in the Sulky. Dave Brower opens his playbook when we return.